Hi there, I'm Stu. Welcome to Shower Thoughts, Superman 2. For this reason, above all, their capacity for good, I've sent them you, my only son. And that's a good way to start. Superman is basically Jesus. My problem is that Superman's powers are miraculous, and that's a dumb thing to say. Hear me out. Superman can fly, Superman has laser beam eyes, he has X-ray vision, he's super strong. To me, it seems Superman's real power is being able to get himself out of whatever pickle he seems to be in. We begin Superman 2 with this. Terrorists have somehow got a hydrogen bomb and put it onto the Eiffel Tower, and they're threatening to blow up Paris. Superman doesn't seem to have a problem with until he finds out that Lois Lane is the reporter on the spot. Yada yada yada, Superman saves the day, throws the hydrogen bomb into space, and it happens, just so happens, to explode in the general vicinity of the Phantom Zone. Villains in this are great. They're released from the Phantom Zone, and the light from our own yellow sun grants them the powers of a super person. Because somehow if you grow up under a red sun, that happens. Flown in space, we've breathed on the moon, we've exhibited super strength even with moon's low gravity, and we've made a successful re-entry into Earth's atmosphere without burning up or crashing into the planet. And then they're impressed when they can shoot lasers out of their eyes. I have powers beyond reason here. We all do, my dear. It's Earth's yellow sun. One of my biggest issues with the series is how clearly Clark Kent is Superman. And I understand that there's that whole, he wears glasses and he curls his hair differently and he's bumbling. My problem is that Clark Kent was Clark Kent far longer than he was Superman. He's still kind of a bumbling fuck-up. Clark Kent walks into the middle of the road in broad daylight in front of Lois Lane in Metropolis, downtown Calgary, Canada, and he's hit by a cab. Now, problems. One, Superman is faster than a speeding bullet. So, even if that cab got the most drop of all drops on him, it seems to me that he could do his super speed thing and get out of the way. But no, he instead decides to let the cab hit him, which puts a big goddamn dent in the cab. We don't live in a society in which we have a god among us. If I'm some poor Metropolis cab driver who's just hit a human being, and there's a dent in my cab that I can't explain, who the fuck's gonna reimburse my cab? Superman and Lois Lane are doing an investigative report of some kind at Niagara Falls. And for some reason they're deep undercover and they're staying in a honeymoon suite that is never explained. We don't know why they can't just show up as reporters and get separate hotel rooms, why they have to play this whole honeymoon shtick up. But this is an instance in which Superman clearly displays that he is more Clark than Cal. And Lois is finally able to connect one and one. Hey, when he's here, Clark's not. Again, therefore, Clark Kent equals Superman. And in an effort to prove her theory, she brings it up, she gives him a chance to come clean. And then she throws herself into the river that leads into Niagara Falls. And I say that he's more Clark Kent than Superman because, with nobody else around, as himself, he pulls one of these. Oh my god! And I understand him not wanting to become Superman and then prove to her that he's Superman, but he could still have a better reaction as Clark Kent. Not super. It's very not super. It's man. It's less than man. He trips and falls over a bearskin rug. Again, not really using that super power of any kind. And his hand and glasses fall into an open flame. She pulls his hand out. She looks at it. And she's like, oh my god, I was totally right. You are Superman. And instead of being mad that she just threw herself into freezing water and was about to go over a cliff, she's just like, I knew. I think I always knew. No shit, you always knew. Clark finally fesses up, flies her to the Fortress of Solitude on the North Pole, and says, you know what? You're pretty great. I want to put stuff inside of you, but I can't do that as Superman, because I'm afraid that I would split you in half when I jizz. So he goes and talks to his mom, because they couldn't get Marlon Brando back. He finds out that he'd have to become not so super. He'd have to step into this chamber, lose all of his powers, and become a Mormon. Not really a Mormon, but he's dressed in the white shirt and the black slacks. for whatever reason. Issue, plot hole. His mother clearly states, are you sure you want to do this? Once you become human, your powers are done. You are like a Highlander that has reached the prize. And he says, I really love her, she's a pretty great lady, even despite her nasty cigarette teeth. I want to get my rocks off. So he steps into the super microwave, defrosts the super powers, and becomes Mormon. And then they bone on his super bed after the Fortress of Solitude sort of implodes. Another big issue. He flew them to the North Pole, where they hung out and had a little bang sesh in the Fortress of Solitude. The next scene we see them in, they're driving a car, and he talks about how much faster flying is. How the fuck did they get back from the North Pole? Later on in the movie, we see him trying to thumb a ride, and he's freezing to death. How the fuck did they get back from the North Pole? It's the North Pole! So Clark Kent, because he's no longer Superman, gets his ass kicked in a bar fight. And he gets it kicked hard. Meanwhile, by the way, Zod and Nan and Ursa have taken control of the United States. And somehow life continues. Like day-to-day normal life. I'm sorry, if 3 gods came down to the planet Earth and put the president on his knees and made him turn over all control, I would probably not go into work that day. Maybe they're better employees than me. Lex Luthor has a plot arc in this, but not really. It's not worth bringing up even. So, realizing there's an issue in the form of 3 Kryptonians who are now superpowered on the planet Earth, he says, fuck, I gotta get this fixed. Thumbs a ride back up to the Fortress of Solitude, despite being told he can never get his powers back. Guess what? He gets his fucking powers back. How? So now Superman with powers, more powers than before even, goes in, really good fight scene. He takes down all 3 of them in a fight, but then when Lois is threatened, he kind of steps back. They end up taking her and Lex Luthor to the Fortress of Solitude. Superman uses the known treachery of Lex Luthor against the 3 bad guys, but oh man, joke's on them. Superman totally reversed the wires so that everybody outside of the chamber loses the powers while he himself remains safe. My question is, do Lex Luthor and Lois Lane, who are outside being bombarded by this power-removing radiation, now have some unknown, uncurable form of cancer, and does Superman care? Superman then proceeds to murder the 3 bad guys by throwing them down an ice crevasse. He takes Lex Luthor back to jail, and they live happily ever after. I mentioned powers. Superman has a giant cellophane S that he can throw off of his chest, and when he throws it, it expands and it can capture a bad guy with superpowers. He can also use his hand to stop telekinetic energy from the 3 bad guys. It's a weird Cinderella story where Cinderella starts on top, goes back to the bottom, and then miraculously rises again. Maybe there's more Jesus parallels in there. But it seems to me that with this loss of powers, gain of powers, all the powers, he is simply Deus Ex Ubermensch. His power is having whatever power he needs, whenever he wants, when the story suits him. And that's not good storytelling. To the point where, at the end of this movie, Lois Lane is distraught because she understands that with Superman having his powers back and needing to be able to protect the world, she's still fucking pretty selfish about it. She's like, oh, I get that he's Superman and the planet needs him, but I really want to bang him. Even though, when she's with Clark Kent, she's not nearly as attracted to him because he's not fucking Superman anymore, and she's only attracted to dudes that can fly. At the end of this, she's crying, she's breaking down in the office, and Superman kisses her. And this is the most uncomfortable superpower I've ever seen because she just forgets everything. It's a rape kiss. I love Superman. I love Superman 1, I love Superman 2, I like Superman 3, I'm okay with Superman 4, Superman Returns happened, Supergirl was a thing. I really enjoy Superman. It's one of the first comics I ever read. But upon a rewatch, these are things that I couldn't help but notice. And I understand that a lot of you are going to hate what I just said. That's okay. You can be wrong and it's alright. Quentin Tarantino tried to make a point in the movie Kill Bill in which he said that Superman is the only reverse superhero, meaning that when he is Superman, he is Kal-El from the planet Krypton, and he has come to Earth to save us because he's Jesus. And when he needs to hide, he is Clark Kent, the glasses and the suit and the hair. I beg to differ. Again, he's had these powers his entire life, but he was raised by Ma and Pa Kent on the farm in Smallville. He's still just Clark Kent, but sometimes when he's in his underwear, he's a little bit more confident. So I guess the moral of this whole thing is be more naked. I'm Stu. Thanks for watching.